Hey guys, AnimeWestReacts here. Going to be reacting to One Piece chapter 1149. Hope you all enjoy this video. If you do, stick around. Let's get into this. So yeah, we got the Straw Hats all reacting. Nami saying ah, and then everyone else saying what. And so yeah, chapter 1149, 1 second. And so yeah, they're like, what? Who is that? Because Scoffer cut down Summers. Says the Pirate King's left hand emerges from nowhere. So yeah, I got Summers going, yeah, and then Usopp yells, why did that work? What did you do? Vaughn says, I'm rusty. So he spins his axes around and then goes back to attack. Summers says, Briar Barrier. Hockey, it looks like. Looks like there's hockey to it because they're black colored. But yeah, Summers manages to do a backflip out of the way, I guess, or away from Gabon. Says, Mountain Eater, why are you in Elbaf? He said, nothing wrong with a serious talk, right? He said, nuh-uh. And then, yeah, Usopp says, huh, you met him at the castle. And then, yeah, because I guess they explained to Usopp where they met him. And Nami says, yeah, Luffy and Zoro were totally overwhelmed by him. And she says, he's the father of Colin, that kid we met at the school. Usopp says, that old guy. Robin says, unless I misheard, he said he's Scopper Gabon. Jinbei says, whoa. Or either Jinbei says it, I guess, says, whoa. He's equal to Rayleigh. He's the left hand of the Pirate King. And then, yeah, Brooke says, that sort of person is in the land of giants. And Chopper's thinking, the attacks are really having an impact. How come? And Robin says, I can't budge, but I can use my powers to assist you. Yeah, Jinbei says, stop it, Robin. His Iron Thorns are a terrible matchup for your hand-to-hand combat style. Ooh. And so, yeah, Summers then says, Thorn Rush and Hell of the Crimson Lotus. Says, there isn't even a square inch for you to stand on. And then he says, Summers says, I'm in a hurry, you know. Or Gabon says, I'm in a hurry, not Summers. And Summers says, come. And then, yeah, gets cut in two. As Gabon says, Futen Raku. Translator note says, this may be a play on words of Inten Raku, referring to a music composition for Japanese nobles. I think Hell of the Crimson Lotus is one of the Impel Down floors. Could be wrong. I feel like that's the case. But yeah. So yeah, Summers gets cut in two, or like right across the torso. And then Gabon says, whoops, as yeah, the floor is still there. It's all spiky. And I guess he uses his axes to cut it and says, that was close. And then he says, wait up, Colin. So yeah, he cuts Summers in two and gets moving. So yeah, the Straw Hats are like, huh? He took him out. And so yeah, Chopper gets up in his reindeer form. Or horn point, I think it is. No, I think that's a different one. But yeah, he's in his full ranger form. But yeah, Nami says, Chopper, where are you going? He says, ouch, it hurts. And Chopper says, how was he able to cut someone who's immortal? This could be critical information. So yeah, Chopper's like, we need to know how to do that. So he chases after him. See that all the kids have been put to sleep. And killing him says, all right, well done. And yeah, the library is burning. And your Killingham says, this should be good. As Angie is like crying. And he says, I understand you did all you can. That's enough. As for over there, I'll deal with that. And then, yeah, shoots a, like, fire arrow at a building. And then it says whoosh, and just immediately goes up in flames, and he laughs and says, now it's really burning. And Robin says, the library. And we got Saul crying as he's laying in the thorns. Back in the village, Jarl says, it's not your fault, Chief Jarl, as he's crying, and says, the words of our ancestors are, history itself is, yeah. Ooh, and he says, this is Killingham, ignition complete, withdraw, child. And so, yeah, Ronya walks back off the arrow. And then, yeah, Gunko says, is it so hard to show a little joy? And she says, I'm sorry. And then says, I'm super sorry for being alive. It's all my fault that everything is burning. And Yova and the others yell, stop it, Ronya. Yeah, got Dory and the others rushing, and she says, they're saying that's not true. And Scoffer says, culture, history, children, even military might. You lot have no right to take that away. And Gunko says, the Pirate King's crew. You do know resisting means the hostages will die, right? And so, yeah, they say, hey, it's Yasan. Colin, Yasan is here. And he's like, huh? He's come to rescue us. And Scoffer says, don't give it away, Colin. And he's like, Dad, that's my dad, everybody. Dad is stronger than everyone else. He'll save everybody. And Gunko immediately glare. It's like glare. It says glare. And so, yeah, Arrow goes straight towards Colin. And she says, off you if you insist. Because Colin says, get off me. And she says, off you if you insist. Challenging me means only one thing. And so, yeah, Scoffer's thinking, this is my last chance. If I act now, the fires can be put out. The kids can be rescued, and Elbaf will be saved. He says, it'll have to be done in an instant. And then Gabon yells, Colin, just give me 1 second. Hold on, you're a strong kid. And he says, got it, Dad. Just bear with the wounds for now. I'll save you. He says, I'm a warrior. Please defeat her. And then Gunko says, a life cannot be returned. This is Colin, and then there's flashback to when he was born. And Ripley is saying, he's our child, Yasan. He's such a big cutie. Thank you for giving him life, Ripley. This is a treasure of a lifetime. And Ripley yells, Colin, please be okay. And say he's got like stab wound. And then Yasan says, if I can't stop her here, this tragedy will worsen. And then, yeah, future sight, he sees Colin getting pierced through the neck and says, I can't take it. Or Colin says, I can take it. And he says, Gabon yells, Colin, and then he says, drops his weapon and says, please stop, I give up. And then he says, I'm sorry, Elbaf, for being, and Gunko says, such a weak being. And then, yeah, you see Gabon get skewered by arrows. Says, I'm Colin. I'm Colin. I'm sorry, Colin. It must have hurt really bad. Sorry. And then, yeah, Gabon falls off the tree. And, yeah. Colin yells, Dad, Daddy. And then, yeah, it's a Daddy, Yasan. And then Gunko says, their father. And he's thinking, what? Gunko's thinking, what is this memory? And then you hear, yo ho ho. You see, my dream is to be a pirate. And then, yeah, Brooke says they really do look alike. And then Usopp says, we gotta think of an escape plan. And Brooke says, my apologies. And then Gunko says, Brooke. And then she tries to run over to him saying, is that you, Brooke? And then suddenly there's like a noise and says, what is with all this commotion? And then Killingham says, great Emu. It says, the Holy Land is currently in a sea of flames. And yeah, they're thinking, what is this? What is with this person? Her face got all scary. And it says, Thou seem to require additional military first. Additional military force. And it says, Mu will show you the dominion of God. Chapter ends with the God's Advent. So yeah, hope y'all enjoy this video. If you do, then leave a like on it. Or be sure to leave a like on it. I'd appreciate it. Share the video, sub the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll see y'all next time. Or next week, I think. So, there.